Welcome back to another week of the Meta Snapshot. Guys, can you believe it? We're already in week 4, and that means it's the final week of the Legends Rise set. Soon to be upon us on the 17th of July, we move into Infinity Evolved, set 2 for Shadowverse Worlds Beyond. So, with the meta now fairly settled, I've got a slightly shorter report for you this week because not as much has changed, but there's a couple of nice little surprises in there and a couple of deck lists to share with you as well. So as usual, thank you for all the support. Please hit that like and subscribe to the channel if you've not for a lot more Shadowverse Worlds Beyond content coming to you. All right, let's dive on in. So as of the 12th of July, as of the 6th of July, which was last week, this is how the meta landed. And if you remember, we'd brought in mid-range Abyss, which was kind of like burst onto the scene. And I talked about Roach Fairy, despite having a really high skill ceiling, that actually deserved to be in Tier 1. Well, we've got a couple of additions this week and a couple of things that have moved around. So we've gone from this to where the meta is this week, which I think lands something like this. Now, interesting, what a journey Roach Fairy or Combo Roach has been on. I started it out in Tier 2 and it's crept up and now it's landed on the top of the meta. And I think the reason for that is I just look around at the amount of like Masters Diamond level players. I look at the constant win streaks that we get. And one of the streamers I watch on Twitch is Chappie. He is currently second on ladder, and he's got like 900. He might now have 1,000 wins with Forestcraft. So I think he is, pretty well, pretty credible in talking about Forestcraft, and his results speak for themselves, and he is absolutely smashing it with that deck. So I've actually put Roach Fairy on top. Another reason is a lot of the meta decks are. There's a lot of like combo things like Spell Boost that like to go long. All the Haven decks, like even like Combo Abyss, even like Control Abyss. All of these like late game decks, like basically Combo Roach just annihilates them because of the OTK. It can build all the pieces it needs. You're giving them lots of time because you're a control deck, and then they just put together a combo that just absolutely devastates the board. They can do 20 damage. They can deal with wards. It's a very, very powerful deck when in the hands of a great player. Now, the only other changes that have been made from, again, just to flick back to show you that was last week, the main changes that I've made this week is that I have actually dropped mid-range Abyss. It was new into the meta, and I think I had it like above Storm Dragon. I don't think that's quite right. I've tamed that slightly. I think it's a really interesting deck. I think it's a good deck. But I've put it towards the top of Tier 3. If you wanted it at the bottom of Tier 2, you could. However, I do feel it might be just a notch below the Tier 2 decks that we've got here. And speaking of which, I've actually demoted Spell Boost from Tier 1 to the very top of Tier 2. And the reason for that is I do think it's on the power level of a lot of the Tier 1 decks. However, I put it down because of consistency. It is less consistent than the other 3. It's slightly less reliable, therefore. So it can definitely reach those power ceilings, maybe even go above and beyond. When Spell Boost does its thing, it might be the most broken thing in the game, to be honest. But, the consistency of doing it, that's a different story. So I put it right at the top of Tier 2 to represent that. And I think Spell Boost, Mid-Range Sword, which continues to be really, really solid, and Storm Dragon, which is, the probably #1 like cheese deck. Like if you think about a ladder deck where you can just play lots of games quickly and you can just cheese, you can probably beat players that are better than you. You can probably beat decks that are maybe technically better or have higher power ceilings just because you get the right combo and you just win the game quickly. So I do feel like these 3 Tier 2 decks can all compete with the Tier 1s, and they are very powerful and good solid climbers for ladder as well. And as I say, I dropped the mid-range Abyss. Now, the only new entry this week is Aggro Swords. Okay, Jimitsu decks have been flying around this week. It's definitely, we've seen content creators, we've seen win streaks published, and we've seen lots of posts about this deck on Twitter. And I do think that it's a really, really cool deck. It's very much different enough from mid-range that it deserves its own slot. I think it slots in somewhere around Tier 3. So, you tell me whereabouts you think the power level is. I've got a deck list to show you from someone who who I think got 18 wins in a row at Diamond rank. So it just goes to show that it can be super powerful. Maybe it's a little bit higher than where I've got it, to be honest. But overall, I'm pretty happy with those tier lists in week 4. Now, let me know what you think. Where would you? Are there any changes you would make? Definitely keen to hear from you if you would. And as for next week, obviously we are going to have a ton of new cards, so the meta is going to get completely shaken up. So make sure you subscribe to check back in for next week's Meta Snapshot. Right, let's jump into the deck list and show you what we've got. Okay, so first, the Aggro sword. This one got 22 wins streak at Diamond, so incredibly powerful. Like I say, maybe I haven't particularly played this much myself, so my tier 3 rank for this is probably the one deck I feel probably most unsure about. If you think it's higher, then fine, but I don't know. I think it's a 22 win streak at Diamond is no mean feat, and the deck looks really, really good. It's like quick onto the board. It looks like it could be very consistent, and obviously with the Ravening Tentacles and the Centurions in the late game, you have got lots and lots of burn to capitalize on that early game. If someone plays something that you really can't deal with, you've got the Divine Thunders, and they're also pretty good against Forest as well, remember, in terms of Divine Thunder doing 1 damage across the whole of the board. So yeah, I think this is really, really interesting. You've got the Shinobi Squirrels in there, you've got Cage Mitsu, obviously. Go and give it a run. There is the deck. All right, next up we have got Roach combo meta, and as I said, I do think this is the #1 deck in the meta. Now, I have actually dropped Arya because what I realized is that from speaking to some players, that it was kind of seen as like a bit of a crutch card as people are like learning this class. But actually, a lot of the top decks who have like mastered the class and the archetype, they often drop Arya. So you could run 3 copies of Olivia. You could even run the Fragmentation 3-drop, which basically draws a card and puts a 0 cost to give you even more ammo for Roach into hand. But in the version I've picked, this one is, instead of the Arya, is running the Airing. Now, the Airing gives you an 8 costed ward. It doesn't cost, importantly, it doesn't cost an evolve or a super evolve. And I feel like that in itself gives it an edge if you're looking for a late game card. It destroys something big, so it buys you a turn or two with the destruction and the ward, and like I said, doesn't use an evolve or a super evo. So this is the deck that I've kind of settled on. There are 1 or 2 tweaks which we just talked about, and that's absolutely fine. I don't think it overall affects the power level of the deck. Some people run 2 staffs, Godward staff. Some people run 3 for the consistency. It's really down to you, but I do feel like this deck now is just in the right hands is super powerful. So that's it for this week's Meta Snapshot. I'm putting all of the deck lists in the video description. The links are there, so go and check them out. You can do it through code, you can do it through QR. It's up to you. Hope you enjoyed the snapshot. Leave us a like and a comment, and I'll see you in next week's Meta Snapshot as we enter into set 2. Bring it on.